All right, we're all set over here.
All right, just play the bumper and we'll go from there.
All right, stand by.
And good morning. Welcome to the WXCO Morning Report, part of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. I am Chad Holmes along with Ian Welsh. Ian, again, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
We will have more from you coming up, but somebody that's also down the hallway here at WXCO is our new news reporter, Isabela Nieto, and wanted to just get an update on how many weeks has it been now? Has it been a month yet?
I think this is my fourth week.
Time just loses all meaning as we go forward. But I just wanted to touch base because folks hear you at the top and bottom of the hours with your local news updates. And it's been interesting in the first few weeks, hasn't it? We've had a couple of visits from Governor Tony Evers. You had a chance to go and see Senator Tammy Baldwin. You've been keeping an eye on some of the council meetings, the continuing year-long drama that has been the Dropbox and the Ethics Committee. How has it been going? Has you been able to start to put your feet on the ground and get a feel about what's going on here in central Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get the hang of things around here, especially statewide with all of these, U.S. representatives that are coming to town to announce candidacy bids and things like that. So it's been really interesting. Met the governor twice, in the first 2 weeks. That was really interesting as well. So I think I'm definitely getting acclimated.
And I forgot to mention, you also had a chance to see Tom Tiffany after the day after he made his big announcement. I think it was his first campaign stop.
Yeah.
What jumped out about the campaign appearance for Congressman Tiffany? Because it's his first go around for statewide office. Did anything jump out in terms of either what he had to say or maybe even the people that came out to see the congressman?
It was a really interesting event. It was took place at the Peterson Barn. So it was kind of, it was my first trip out into kind of the more rural area of Wausau. So I got to see a lot more of the naturey side of things. I got to see a little bit more of Rib Mountain. I got to see a lot of different people. The mayor was there. Mayor Denny was there. And there were a few other I think there were a couple council members there as well, but it was interesting for sure.
Also, you mentioned the fact that the governor was here a couple of times, and I was with you over at Wausau East and had a chance to watch the governor interact, and I was touched in a sense, because whenever you do see some of these events where sometimes it's sort of in and out real quickly, maybe it's because the governor knows that he's ending his term in just over a year. But I thought it was interesting to see him interact with a lot of the students and the other folks over at Wausau East. What was your take on what you saw with the governor, both then and also in the second appearance that he made just a week after that?
Yeah, he definitely took his time with students, which isn't something that I saw from say Governor Pritzker, when he would come to things in the Springfield area. It's very, make your appearance and go. And, seeing Governor Evers take his time with the students, see his staff kind of be like, okay, Governor, it's time for us to move on, and see them kind of, push him forward to the next event. Because you could tell he really wanted to be engaged with the students, which is nice to see. You can tell that he used to be an educator. It was interesting to see.
It was actually funny that day because I know there was a reporter from Channel 12 in Rhinelander, and he had to get back up north to do like a stand-up for one of their early newscasts. And normally it would be no problem, but that event just kept going and going and going.
It really did.
I said to him, I said, man, you may not get back in time. It really was that where he kind of soaked it all in over at East on that day. And I imagine that one of the things that I'm going to be curious to hear from you as you continue is the differences maybe of what you saw down in Springfield and in Illinois compared to here. I know it's a little too early, but I imagine that's something that you're going to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a few differences in the pace of things. And definitely in the energies of the two places. Springfield is where all of the political elites go to meet, and it's a very old boys club type vibe in Springfield. But here's a little bit different. I'm noticing that people take a little bit more time and meet with people a little bit longer instead of just making your appearance and going.
also a difference I'm kind of curious to hear your perspective on, or if there are differences, is locally, because you had covered local government in Illinois as well, and you've had a chance to visit the city council and see the ethics committee meeting and get a taste of the county board as well. I know it's very early, but anything jump out about the local government meetings that you've seen so far?
You know, I really think one of my favorite shows is Parks and Rec. And I think I learned so much watching that show in my early years about how local government is run and what it looks like. And even though that was a comedic show, how accurate it is and how you can find some of those little humorous moments in the local government as well. So that's what makes it really interesting for me to see how they interact with each other, how council members react to each other when they're debating things on the floor or in council meetings. It's interesting, and I really enjoy seeing how it plays out at the end of the night.
That's a thing as well that kind of jumps out to back when you first did a Zoom interview with us, is that this does interest you, that that you like getting into the details of local government, because it's not easy sometimes. And I is watching you get into this job when you have to kind of start from scratch. I mean, there's a lot you have to kind of get a feel for as you start this job, isn't there?
There really is, and I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, but there's so much history behind
Right.
relationships at the local level. It's, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it and see, just observe how people interact with each other based on those histories as well.
And one other elected official you had a chance to see was Senator Baldwin. Anything jump out about her? Because again, you've seen other political figures. Anything jump out in the one appearance she made here in Wausau recently?
She seemed really genuine and seemed to really be interested in hearing from the constituents she did hear from. The people that were at the round table with her, they mentioned that they had sent out letters to several representatives and other senators and trying to get them to respond to their concerns about the ACA, tax credits being potentially expiring at the end of the year. And she really did seem concerned, and they mentioned that she was the only one that had actually responded to the letter and set something up with them. So, while it was still a very, newsy event, you could kind of tell that she was interested in hearing from the people. She was glad to have a local constituent voice sitting next to her and kind of, keeping the local angle still relevant in kind of a larger conversation that is relevant statewide.
Fantastic. Again, you can hear Isabela and her news reports at the top and bottom of every hour. We have our information updates, news, weather, and sports at the top and bottom of the hour, every hour here during the day on 98.9 WXCO. Again, it's interesting to hear your perspective, and I know you'll be out there covering a lot of these great news stories, and you can keep up with Isabela on our website as well, WXCO.FM, and of course, tune in. But thanks again, and we'll talk again real soon.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to take a quick time out and then get back to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow here on 98.9 WXCO.
And we're clear.
Thank you.
You're welcome.